So, Abhayraj, there are a couple of questions around reading in the Q&A box, which I have combined. So, it's around how to be consistent with reading and how much reading non-fiction, non-legal non-fiction has shaped your process of reading and writing. So, these are the two questions.
So see, one thing let me share with you, which is forcing yourself is always a bad idea on whatever it is. So if you're really resisting reading and if you're really resisting writing, don't be surprised if your style of learning is one which does not allow you to learn by text. Because some people learn visually. That is a truth. And especially those of you all who might be interested in one day being a teacher, you have to think of the fact that in your classroom, there might be someone who cannot learn through reading. It's not that they can't read, they can read. But when they read, they get distracted. When they read, their mind does not absorb what's going on, right? Some of the questions in the question and answer box are also like, when I read, I get distracted. And so there are learning styles, including learning styles which benefit from a visual appreciation. You can actually, if you see it in a visual image or a chart or a flow chart, you're more likely to read than if you have to read 1,000 words. There are other people who learn through the auditory, right? So just opening yourself up and asking yourself, how do I learn? How do you learn? Right? Where is your learning blind spot? What do you like to learn? What don't you like to learn? Is a good thing to do, because the good news is that in today's world, you have lots and lots of resources that are not text. You have podcasts, you have audiobooks, you have visualizations, you have zines, graphic books, you have movies, you have song, right? You even have projects of visual law. And if you really are clear that I am a reader, I am a learner who does not learn this way, you can find exactly what works for you or what works for people who you are trying to teach or learn with. So that's the big answer to the question. Let's not overemphasize the absolute necessity of reading. That said, let's also be realistic. A lot of learning in law and a lot of research in law happens in and through text, through writing, and through reading. So at the moment, it's not easy to do good work in law, justice, development, governance, policy, without having some kind of comfort with reading and writing. And at this early stage of your careers, if you are still open to changing who you are as a person, which you should be as long as you can, should be open to becoming a newer and newer person, adding newer skills and competences. It's a good question to ask, how can I improve my reading habit? So improving your reading habit is, again, a process which is different from person to person and is best done through experimentation. So some quick ways in which I have improved my own reading habit. I mean, it's another matter that I loved reading from a very young age. But how I have improved my reading habit is, one, by surrounding myself with books. Quite often, I have books that I bought 10 years back that I've still not read. And one day, one magic day, my eye will catch that book and I'll be like, okay, let me read it. And I'll start it again. I'll be like, wow, I loved it, right? So I like to surround myself with books. If I can afford them, I buy them. Otherwise, I like libraries. I wouldn't mind being a librarian. It's an unsexy profession, but hey, it works for me. So if in an alternate life, I wouldn't have minded being a librarian. The other thing, like most things, is if you are in the company of readers, you are more likely to read, right? So even joining a book club, reading a book together, having a friend with whom you can discuss the book, really increases your likelihood of reading. At a very simple level, what I've discovered is one of the best things you can do for yourself is have a dictionary and really make that your friend. When I grew up, for me, that dictionary is actually the secret of a lot of my success, I would say. And a lot of my success is actually connected to just being good with my vocabulary. That's the unfortunate reality of a country such as India, perhaps, right? I'm not particularly smart or anything like that. It's just that I knew some big words at the right time, perhaps, right? And that's because for the longest time, I had this habit of having a dictionary, which I used to always open. And every time there was a new word I read in law or in storybook, I would actually find out the meaning of that word. Sometimes I'd actually write it down in a separate notebook as well. And if you do that for yourself, the more words that come into your vocabulary, the more pleasurable it becomes to read, right? Because suddenly you understand what's going on in newer and newer texts. And yeah, I mean, a reading habit is like a fitness habit, right? There is no one way to do it. You have to motivate yourself. Sometimes you have to get up at 5 o'clock. Sometimes you have to have a nap. Sometimes you have to join a fitness club or a reading club. And always hang around people whose opinion you respect and understand what they are reading. Try and read the same kinds of things. So the final point on how much is my non-law reading, what was the exact phrasing of that? Non-law, non-fiction, was it? No.
Yes, non-legal, non-fiction.
Non-legal, non-fiction. Yeah, for me, legal is gone, my friends. I mean, I am no longer a legal character. I've become a very strange bird who's who's a recovering lawyer. So for me, the law is just part of. I mean, my degree was a BA LLB, and for a long time I've been sort of turning into the BA part as well. So for me, I'm a sociologist, I'm an anthropologist, I'm an economist, or let's say I'm an economist wannabe. I could learn a lot more economics. I'm weak in economics because I don't like the neoclassical economics that is winning the day. I'm a political scientist, I'm a philosopher wannabe, right? And I'm a legal thinker. And the good news about law is the law naturally allows you to integrate all these other things, right? Because if one philosopher is fighting with one religious leader, and the philosopher says there is no God, and the religious leader says, say Jai Shri Ram, only the law can step in and resolve that. Otherwise, they're going to kill each other, or one is going to kill the other, right? The law allows an integration of those kinds of incommensurable positions. So the law is naturally suited to multidisciplinarity, and I love reading in any discipline. In fact, I get bored reading most Supreme Court judgments and High Court judgments. No offense to those who are interested in becoming litigating lawyers. For me, I'm always critiquing the judgments. I'm like, oh my God, this is not a good example of reality. I wish the judgment could have been better. But I mean, having interned with judges, etc., I know the conditions under which they work. It's difficult to produce a very robust multidisciplinary account. So the answer is, yeah, I mean, it's non-law, non-fiction is what I'm reading most of the time.